Hello!
And welcome to
the Champagne Room Secrets Podcast. The podcast where two hilarious, sporty sex workers give you a peek behind the curtains of the adult industry through personal anecdotes, content analysis, and sometimes interviews. I am Candi/Barbie.
I am Kitty. Go team.
Go team go!
Yay!
Yay! You know we love a theme here at the Champagne Room Secrets podcast. I was like, what if I made us Champagne Room Secret jerseys with our names on the back of them? So I did. I did hand draw this, and then I kept our little Caesar shoe R because...
Oh, that's so clever. Well, thank you, Coach Candi.
We're drinking some brewski beers today, aka cider.
Cheers.
It was the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, our team, the Niners, did not win, even though the chant that I came up with that got us into the playoffs, it wasn't strong enough against the Swifties. That was my reasoning why they didn't win.
I came up with this chant, and we did it, and that's why they won. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy boyfriends, happy boyfriends, happy boyfriends.
You know what? We used it up until overtime. It was very powerful.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's magic.
So during the Super Bowl, we were hanging out with a bunch of our fun queer artist friends, drinking and eating and having a gay old time. And we just had this score up on our phones. And I thought, like, wait a second, I like watching numbers get bigger. I think I like sports.
It was fun. It was very fun.
We were just sitting there literally looking at the numbers, just being drunk and looking at numbers.
I mean, that is kind of what it is.
Yeah.
It's either looking at men or numbers.
I don't want to look at the screen. There's too much going on. And there's not enough, like, gay shit either.
Well, they do. They grab each other. They
Not
spank
enough.
each other.
Not enough.
And we had gay brunch. I was rolling on the floor. We had a costume show.
I have a video of that.
And this woman came out.
Happy Super Bowl, everyone.
Kitty, do you have a champagne secret of the week?
I do.
Tell me.
I had a dungeon play date with my partner, which is something we do as like a little treat every once in a while. And the dungeon we go to has it's stocked. It's almost everything you could think of, and like plenty of things like you don't want to play with are there. And we found something in one of their closets that like shook us, and we're like, oh, we have to use this. Jesus Christ. No! It was a fuck machine. And that's the smallest diller they had available. But we both tried it. I tried it first. I was so excited because I'm like, I've always seen these in like porn and whatever. And I'm like,
It's intriguing.
It's going to be rad. It's going to be cool,
Yeah.
right? It has a range of 1 to 100. I tried it on 1. It entered me and I crawled away because it felt so bad. And I'm sure I made a noise like, "Ah." It wasn't painful, but it hurt my stomach emotionally. And so we were laughing at me a lot for like trying 4 times. And then finally towards the end, I'm like, you have to try it. So my partner tries it and they immediately do the same fucking thing. They like roll away and make a noise. I'm like, okay, at least we're on the same page.
Yeah.
We're like at 1%. It goes up to 100%. Above 50, it rocks so much that it was walking. It was just threatening as fuck for it to be like, I'm coming for you. So that's my secret, is I tried a fuck machine and I also happen to hate it. Great. What is your champagne secret of the week?
I am a trad wife.
I mean, we did know.
I had the biggest trad wife Valentine's Day, and guess what? I'm not sorry about it. Do you ever see Nara Smith?
I'm into it.
Here's the thing. I look at her and I'm like, do I want to be friends with you? Absolutely not. Do I want to be around you? No. But I love her content. I tried to emulate her voice.
Yeah.
Because I did a TikTok.
I thought it would be fun to make homemade birria for Valentine's Day to surprise my partner. It's actually super easy. I got caviar, stuffed for a cheese plate, and dirty martinis. That shishito peppers would go really well with everything, and I also prepped some chocolate strawberries. These are the flowers my partner surprised me with, and then our spread of caviar, cheese, smoked oysters, and dirty martinis.
She makes every step of the recipe from scratch. Like she made a lasagna. She made the fucking mozzarella.
Yeah, that
cheese.
was pretty
This
incredible.
Bitch is the real MVP of trad wives, and I honestly respect her so much for that, because like I love cooking, I love making stuff from scratch, and so I love having inspiration. I'm such a trad wife, you guys. And you had a fun Valentine's Day too.
I did too. We went to friends and family. They had a whole spaghetti dinner with a bunch of stuff. It was huge. It was a whole thing. So we had a lot of fun.
That
was
so
really cute.
I'm so glad you guys
Yeah.
had fun. Anyways, we're gonna get into this. So the
Boop, 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 boop. It's hot tops. Newsflash.
we're hot tops. We're 2 hot tops. Bringing the hot tops. Today's hot top. The Super Bowl. What about the Super Bowl? Why did I make these? Why did I order jersey blanks and then make... Well, we did the thumbnail, but we'll show.
Oh, we'll show you now.
We'll show you now.
Oh my god.
You like that?
You like that?
Guess what? No feet. Still.
Nope. Not yet.
I don't know if anyone else can relate to this. I remember at a certain point in my life, maybe high school, sometime when I was like not quite an adult, but a little bit older, I remember hearing that the biggest sex trafficking day of the year was during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And this was something that I just would always hear about. Like when it comes time, like you'd hear it like every year. And at the time, it's like, why would I ever question that? Because I didn't know that my life would turn into this. And I saw an article like a few weeks ago about Vegas preparing for this last Super Bowl and how it like actually really harms just normal sex workers who engage, they make their fucking money. I feel like it's almost like, maybe not quite, but like a little like urban legend status. That like there's like this boogeyman in the behind the Super Bowl, that it's like this like scary monster that's like
Sex trafficking.
No, I always heard it too. I didn't question it because when you're young, sometimes you don't question things. But I always thought it was super weird. They talk about like the thing, but they never talk about like people. They don't talk about clients. They don't talk about victims. They talk about them blank, like as a generic thing, but they definitely don't talk about like who's trafficking them.
It's literally like a boogeyman. Like that's how they report on it. Like there's a boogeyman called Trafficking.
Yeah.
And
he's out to be bad. They don't even talk about like the harm of it, nothing. But I did want to do like one thing up top before we start talking about trafficking. Yeah. So a couple quick points. Trafficking is not the same thing as sex work. We've talked about that, but just to be clear, making someone do certain work against their will is not the same as doing it.
I mean, I think we should even though separate those, because it's like I've heard people say consensual sex work, and it's like sex work should be consensual. Like, we have trafficking and sex work.
There's sex work and there's commercial exploitation in the sex industry. And also, because we're nuanced and we're fucking grown-ups, people can have both experiences, and it's not linear one way or the other, and it doesn't always feel good in either realm.
Along those lines, you're gonna hear, at least probably both of us, like complain about this hyperfixation with sex trafficking. And I just want to say, it's like, we're not saying that that is not a thing that happens and it's not serious, because it very much
real
happens. I just think not in the way that is reported and focused on.
Yeah, there are a lot of issues with how it's reported on and how it's focused on. There have been some advancements in terms of how it's talked about and researched about academically. And what I wanted to highlight is
this bitch brought a book.
Dr. Julietta of San Francisco State University kind of revolutionized how, at least in educational spheres, in academic spheres, people talk about trafficking. So if you really want to go deep, this is the book to read to start your journey. I don't recommend going on anti-trafficking campaign sites for education.
Don't even watch that fucking Sound of Freedom movie. Don't even think about it.
Don't think about it. Like, it's a real thing, and it needs to be informed by the people who experience it. There are a lot of organizations that get this like very honestly paternalistic, like
save a hoe.
Yeah, savior complex. And we also don't talk about like what conditions are occurring that cause this issue.
We probably won't get that granular today, but I do think there is like, can you have any like ethical labor under capitalism? Kitty and I, we like being sex workers.
Yeah.
We both have good work experiences. I want to keep doing it, but like there are people who either survival reasons or forced exploitative reasons like get into the work, and that like really sucks, and we're just trying to like educate on the differences.
Yeah, I think our biggest critiques are how it's talked about.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about. Okay, Gorge, thank you. I just want to throw that out there.
No, I love that.
Because like I don't want people to step into this conversation assuming that we're fighting against what people are saying. It's more like, how do you say it?
How are they saying it? And
also why?
And like there's a lot of hypocrisy I found in my like researching for this episode. So first I wanted to draw some attention to this article that I found. I'm just going to read a few things from it, and then I want to get into some other like research I was doing. I am not an academic. I'm not going to remember all these things. So I'm just I'm going to highlight them and like give you guys sources.
Yeah.
Like
I will also say like we do have the privilege of having academic backgrounds that help us contextualize what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's true.
So there is that.
So I found this website called anti-traffickingreview.org. The Anti-Trafficking Review promotes a human rights-based approach to anti-trafficking. It explores trafficking in its broader context, including gender analyses and intersections with labor and migrant rights.
Woo!
We love that.
Love that.
Make sure to check out this website. We will link this article. Basically, the title of the article is Debunking the Myth of Super Bowl Sex Trafficking, Media Hype or Evidence-Based Coverage. And so this article is very long. I want to read a little bit of the abstract. I won't go through the whole thing because it's literally like we could do a whole like hour episode about just this, but the references are insane. Like everything is backed up. So it goes through like different like years of media coverage, the circulation of the myth, how it started, how it's perpetuated. So I'm just going to read a little bit from the abstract. This article examines U.S. media coverage of human trafficking in relation to the Super Bowl, American football's championship game. Available empirical evidence does not suggest that major sporting events cause trafficking for sexual exploitation. And they back this up. Please go to the article and look at it. They have studies and shit backed up. Yet we find that 76% of U.S. print media from 2010 to 2016 propagated the Super Bowl sex trafficking narrative. Local coverage of the 2018 Super Bowl in Minneapolis, Minnesota was different, presenting a skeptical stance toward this narrative. The article describes how this substantial shift resulted from our research group and anti-trafficking stakeholders employing an action research approach to craft a Super Bowl communication strategy that aligned with empirical evidence. Although sensationalist narratives are difficult to dislodge, the Minnesota case shows that evidence on trafficking can be effectively used to inform media and impact public perceptions when researchers work with stakeholders on the group. Imagine that.
That is so interesting because Super Bowl 2018 would have been January 2018. That is 3 months before Sesta Fosta was passed. That's crazy.
Wow. So that's kind of the academic little nod I wanted to give. So basically this morning I went on a YouTube hole and I tried to watch like not every, but
no,
like
but you watched a lot.
I watched a lot of news clips ranging from 10 years ago to a few days ago from when they were posted. All sorts of publications, NBC, CNBC, Fox, some like weird ones. Let me pull that up and I'll just like play it over that we can like comment on it.
Well, the governor of Indiana is so concerned it's going to bring women and girls sold into sexual slavery. He now wants lawmakers to toughen human trafficking laws right now. Newsway's Curtis Fuller is live to explain the concerns and what's being done about it already. Hi, Curtis.
Hi there, Cherie. Well, consider this. The 2010 Super Bowl brought an estimated 10,000 prostitutes to the city of Miami.
10,000?
Okay, here's the thing. Prostitutes, I don't even like that term prostitutes, but he said it, so we'll say it. I prefer the term sex worker or whore if I'm referring to myself. The way that like all of these do not really distinguish between victims and
Workers.
sex workers.
Yeah. 10,000?
Also,
10,
sir,
000?
there are not enough clients
10,000?
I have traveled to work at a strip club for the Super Bowl. Like, sex workers, yeah, we follow the fucking money. Like, sorry, I'm gonna capitalize on there being a big group of men who are excited.
Go to the Super Bowl.
I know.
Back to last year when the Super Bowl was in Dallas, we're told that there were more than 100 arrests, prostitution arrests in that city alone.
Prostitution arrests. So
But that has nothing to do with someone being coerced into the work.
It is
that
not.
we know of. That we know of.
But
they
are
not
saying
zero nuance.
Who knows the dangers of human trafficking firsthand is doing all she can to help those victims who will be forced to Indiana.
So they just like flip
yes.
flop.
Yeah. So they give us two statistics on
about
prostitutes working.
Yeah.
And then they instantly flip into human trafficking. Like those two are the same thing.
You probably would have driven down the street slowly and seen a bunch of prostitutes. There's 100,000 American kids being trafficked, which we mislabel.
Sure. But
you drive down the street looking, you can see prostitutes.
Like,
why are those in the same sentence?
Also, you'll see workers on this street and then there's 100,000 kids trafficked.
How many times have you seen a child prostitute on the street? How many times?
And it happens. It happens.
Of course it happens. We're not saying it doesn't happen.
It happens.
It's a boogeyman situation.
You're just flip flop. They're not the same thing. Also, yeah, if we're talking about minors being trafficked, let's talk about labor. Like physical labor, farm labor. Okay. That's like only half the video.
Teresa Flores knows firsthand the dangers lurking around us. She is a victim of human trafficking. She was a sex slave. It began when she was only 15. The Columbus resident says human trafficking is the second biggest crime in the world, and high-profile events like the upcoming Super Bowl in Indianapolis will be an active target.
A lot of them will go to strip clubs, a lot of them will go to the casinos, maybe, and then they'll, look up line. It's not uncommon that they're going to get a prostitute while they're there.
So if you have men who are going to go to casinos, get drunk, go to strip clubs, this is a separate argument, but it's like, why can't we just put more brothels in? Why can't we decrim sex work so they can legally go get companionship?
Assaulting and harassing strippers who are not doing that work.
Right. It's just like how they kind of like lump it all together. Like it's like some big moral panic.
Yeah.
And it's like these disgusting men who go to strip clubs and get drunk at casinos and then hire workers.
I'm going to say they're not even shaming the men.
They're not, no.
And I'm just like, yeah, trafficking is a huge global issue that is worth talking about.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about the conditions. We're not talking about the laws.
And you notice the newscaster called her a sex slave.
I'm sorry. Throwing around the word slave is like a lot already.
I feel like these people are like horny talking about it. Not like horny and turned on way.
And it just makes it more and more dangerous for people who are in these situations because they're directing eyes in the wrong direction. And they're setting up people who are doing sex work on their own, out of their own choice, to be heavily scrutinized and put in more dangerous situations because of the like laser focus. Right.
This bar of soap is part of her effort to stop adolescent prostitution. She puts these in hotels free of charge with a hotline number on them. She says this could be a lifeline for some young person trapped in the web of human trafficking.
NFL hosting committee in Indianapolis has asked all the hotels to do this, to go either get the soap or get a training.
I do think the soap thing has some value, but
I think to me it was the language. Like, this could help. I'm like, okay, so it hasn't helped.
Well, and they focused only on, when they're talking about that specifically, they're only talking about minors. And like the language in this was so inconsistent and so dangerous and so harmful. Because like, yeah, probably there are people who are being exploited for like the sex trade.
Of course.
At these events.
Of course.
Totally. But I don't think it's 10,000.
I think in the way that it happens every day, everywhere.
Yeah.
If there's more people in one space, it's going to happen. Like, again, we're not trying to say sex trafficking doesn't happen.
It totally does. But the way they talk about it in this, they're like, you're exactly right. It's this boogeyman. It's this scary thing. I know some of them said, here's how to notice it. And they're not totally right in what they said. But also like, they're not saying like why it's bad, why it's scary. No. What needs to be done on a bigger level to help people. It's just like, ooh, spooky.
I don't think I'll show this clip, but one of the newscasters was saying, look for people who look like they shouldn't be together. I'm like, girl, if I'm out with my 70-year-old client acting like their girlfriend, do not call the human trafficking police on me. I am choosing to be there. I am being compensated well.
Well, they're just like someone who's timid, someone who's anxious. They also said someone who always is being watched. I'm like, you're doing the watching.
You're literally watching.
Are these things actually helpful?
You're just creating a moral panic that is being overblown, and people's fear and anxieties are in the wrong place, and they're blaming the wrong people. And because of that, they're putting other people's lives at risk.
They're always like, notice victims, look for victims, this and that. I think it almost is like just like materially easier to pay attention to someone who might be trafficking someone. Because usually they're involved in making the travel plans and they're more likely to like have their name on things. I don't think it's like whack-a-mole, find a trafficking victim. I think that makes no fucking sense. I think the actual support that would work is more likely like peer-to-peer.
When I walked along a street where I lived and I'm like meeting sex workers and like giving out supplies.
Yeah, people
and
doing
I'm not saying anything
work
about myself, but I'm like, are any of these people doing outreach like that? Like, are any of these people actually
other than
talking?
this one woman who had the experience of being trafficked, which is
awful.
But she's doing that peer-to-peer thing. People are reaching out to her and she's giving them resources, and that's amazing. But like, they're not giving any prompt for the public to help.
But you know, it's probably a similar behavior around like unhoused populations. Like, people don't want to see it. They don't want to hear about it.
They talk about it like a problem. They talk about like a dangerous problem towards whoever the model citizen is they're talking about.
But like, the anger never goes towards the societal conditions that put people in those situations.
Exactly.
Okay, so you watched this, the first one I sent you.
I watched the first two.
Next here tonight, the hunt for human traffickers. Tampa-based task force conducting multiple undercover operations in the weeks leading up to the big game. And they gave I-Team investigator Jackie Calloway an inside look at just how they rescue the victims and arrest the traffickers.
They're supposedly setting up a sting to arrest traffickers. Keep that in mind.
Lights are still on. A hidden and complex operation.
Normally the first hour or two, we spend a lot of time going through the ads.
They're going through sex worker ads, which I'm not saying they can't be trafficking ads, but
no, but
that is what a lot of people use to work.
So we mentioned Sesta Fosta at the beginning. That was legislation that basically took down a lot of ad sites, most notably Backpage. And the big thing about ad sites, which we have gone through, is there is a lot of verification that you are who you are and you are a fucking adult.
Yeah.
Like, how many selfies and ID photos and whatever the fuck have you submitted?
It took me weeks to get verified in Arrows.
Exactly.
Like,
and I do know some of this is post Sesta Fosta. Still, resources like Backpage, first of all, help people work who want to do the work. But also, there's a way in which, if the actual concern was people's safety, you can work with the ad site to help identify trafficked persons.
Yeah. Police working alongside the FBI and Homeland Security. They're attempting to...
They're just people on laptops in a room. That's who we are right now.
It's also like, why can't you do that at work?
Why are they on site?
Why are you on site?
Let's get to the end of the video.
Because they're what? Out calling a shit ton of people?
Lure sex trafficking victims and those who sell them. Officers and undercover agents set up both inside and outside this Tampa hotel.
So we now have just begun communicating with some of our targets.
But this is no prostitution sting.
Looking through to see who may be a potential victim of human trafficking.
Tampa Police Detective Tony Aguiar scours hundreds of local sex ads. He's looking for telltale signs that he won't disclose.
He won't disclose them. He's like, okay, who would I not hire? There's this level of frothing at the mouth. They want to be proved right. Like, they want to find fucking children on these sites.
And that's okay. Help people. Oh my God,
no,
of course.
Of course.
We're not saying that. It's just like the way that this is reported on, and honestly the way that it is policed is so fucking wrong. It's just wrong. It's not the way to do it.
Says these indicators suggest some of the women and teenagers in the ads are being trafficked.
There, I'll then communicate with them verbally over the phone.
Text messages typically lead to a phone call to set up the meeting. When the women arrive at the hotel room, an undercover officer is waiting. Detectives engage in conversation while agents hidden from view outside the hotel watch the vehicles that drop them off. Just 1 hour into tonight's operation, agents rescue a 20-year-old and arrest her suspected trafficker. Detectives found a loaded handgun in the suspect's car. Every woman who showed up at the hotel was taken to this Tampa Police District office. There, a detective partnered with a victim's advocate for an interview that determines whether the person was in need of rescue or a prostitute. Tampa police say the person in this video was not a victim. She's now facing a prostitution charge.
Oh my fucking God.
All these police people, all of like Homeland fucking Security, everything. If they had caught any victims, wouldn't they have used that as an example? Turns out she was not a victim at all. And now she's being arrested for prostitution. After all of that.
So they were saying that there's a 20-year-old. She came in to provide work. She came in with a guy who was in the car waiting for her. He had a gun. First of all, Florida. Guns.
So it could have been a pimp. I hate pimps.
Yes.
Those suck.
That could have totally
it
could have totally been a problem.
Could have been.
But it could also have been a safe person.
That's what I mean.
Making sure she's not getting raped or murdered.
They don't say who that person was.
And they said he was arrested, but they didn't say he was charged.
No. They said this was her trafficker. She's 20, so she's not a child. She is a full-grown adult, and she was not a victim of trafficking. They're like, oh, she was just a sex worker, and then we arrested her.
That is so disgusting.
Okay, I have like
that is so disgusting to be like, maybe you're a victim, maybe you're not.
Individuals who buy sex, whether they know it or not, may be exploiting a human trafficking victim for their own pleasure. And those who offer sexual services may be doing it against their will. And the rest may be their only chance at freedom.
No. Actually, no.
Arrest might be their only chance at freedom.
Categorically, no. Actually,
you know what we're gonna
no.
do? We're gonna put you in jail to save you.
Fucking arrested, it can ruin the rest of your goddamn life.
Let's say you get charged and like you have to serve time. By the time you get out, because of the fucking country we live in, you're not gonna be able to get a normal job, and so it's probably gonna push you
further into the trade.
Which is like fine if you want to do it, but their whole point is that we're saving you from the sex trade, and it's like by doing this, you are starting this like
you can lose access to housing, you can't get jobs, you might not be able to take care of your kids anymore. There's so so many things in your life that would get destroyed. That's not saving someone by any fucking means. Also, it's always look for the victims, not look for the traffickers. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like a trafficker is a little bit easier to fucking spot.
And that was just like, I just went on this little deep dive this morning. Like, these are all on YouTube. If you're curious, you can like look these up. I think it's very interesting.
Oh, I did want to say one quick thing. There, all of the news reports are talking about like statistics show that there's this increase in blah 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 blah, but they also say that like this is when we're looking, and I'm like, oh really? If we're talking about sample size, come on you guys. The statistics show that when we look for something, we find it.
We could do multiple episodes on like sex trafficking and all that. There's honestly so much. We can only go into so much in this episode.
Yes, and we're only so informed. Do you want to talk about other news, or is that like that feel robust?
How much do you have?
I'll just tell you stuff.
What else is going on besides the Super Bowl?
To our next topic this evening, Florida State Senate, they have some new legislation they're working on that is going to change the minimum age requirement to work in a strip club. And that's not like exactly the language, but this is coming from in Jacksonville, Florida, and other places. There was an age minimum set that you have to be 21 to work in an adult entertainment business. That was enacted in March 2020. It was ruled constitutional by a federal judge. So now the state of Florida is considering the same thing.
So it was already a law, and now they want to make it for all of Florida.
So Florida State Representative Carolina Amist said members in the legislature believe that 18, 19, and 20-year-olds should not work in the adult entertainment industry, which is an open door for human trafficking and addictions.
I mean, everything's a gateway for addictions. Have you been in an office with salespeople?
Have you been a server?
Have you worked in the restaurant industry?
Tea.
There are so many gateways into like hard drug use. Like,
yeah, you gotta be 21 to be a line cook. Okay, anyway, it would become a felony offense if someone knowingly employed a worker under 21 years old at an adult entertainment establishment. That is legally defined by any business that features persons who engage in specific sexual activities for observation by patrons, which restricts or purports to restrict admission only to adults. Strip clubs.
Yeah.
Strip clubs. If it passes, it would go into effect July 1st of this year, which is it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And I did see on Monday, there was a criminal justice estimating impact conference that talked about this. The meeting found that they couldn't guarantee the bill would subject any scofflaws to incarceration, tacitly raising questions about whether this high-profile slam of college girls stripping would accomplish anything other than punitive symbolism. So there is a little bit of like a value issue here of people, like they're talking about college girls specifically, but I think what they mean is like this won't have any potential positive impact on young strippers' lives. Like there's no evidence to show that this helps fucking anyone.
No, it's about control. It's about also creating this boogeyman of human trafficking. It's very hot right now in the news. Politicians aren't doing anything really, for us at least, that their constituents want them to do, and so they're sticking on these like shitty band-aids that actually don't do anything. But to more conservative people, we're upholding purity culture and we're shutting the whores away and doing all these things.
You said this over text, how this is going to just push people further to the margins, put them to probably more dangerous work, might push them towards being fucking trafficked at the end of the day.
Hello?
If we're being real, like.
And it's like, you don't want to see workers on the streets. What do you think this law is going to do?
And I just wanted to take the vibe down and say that Florida State Senate is also currently looking at HB 1223, which proposed to reduce the legal age to purchase long guns like rifles and shotguns from 21 down to 18. It was previously raised in 2018 after the Parkland mass shooting by a 19-year-old with an AR-15. I really want to make it a big old fucking bummer, but in 2023 there were 656 mass shootings in the US. 2022 647, 2021 689. That is almost 2,000 mass shootings in 1,095 days. And they're like, yeah, let's give teenagers fucking guns.
Conservatives care more about like one person suffering from human trafficking than they do like thousands of people being killed.
Thousands of people being.
Literally. It's like, how dare this sex crime happen? But people just getting fucking shot up and kids dying in their classrooms.
Fine.
Whatever.
Fine. Whatever.
Mental health, I guess. Pray for them.
I know these are sweeping generalizations, but let's look at it. Let's remove jobs from young women and give guns to young men. Let's remove potential agency, funds, a career from young women, and let's give young men the ability to kill as many people as they want.
Well, it's great because if they can threaten their partners to do sexual acts, to them with guns and they don't have to hire sex workers.
Perfect.
I know this is not everyone. I have a hard time believing it's not. It's fine. It's a personal thing. But I think about all these like older men making these laws, enacting them, reporting on it. I'm like, sir, I know you have some dirty little kinks. I also know you fetishize young women. And guess what? It's a thing that happens. That's our society. What kind of porn do you look at? Do you verify the actresses in those porns are of age or fully consenting?
Those Twitter and Instagram DMs.
What about your Finsta?
Your
fake
Facebook
Twitter?
Messenger.
What are your sexual proclivities? I'm just curious about it.
I just want to make a big old bummer because I'm angry.
Well, I think we should maybe save your next topic for next time and then do my nice topic. No, do my nice story.
Yeah, let's save this one. Can you bring the vibe back up?
So I had a client last week, and this is a client that I had met I think 8 months ago. We had lunch, and then our schedules never aligned, and he kind of fell out. But he hit me up again, so we ended up hanging out, and it was actually so sweet and so cute and so much fun. I think he's in his 70s. He wouldn't tell me.
A woman never tells.
I'm like, sir,
just tell me
you
how
are old as fuck.
are.
I just want to know so I can say it on my podcast. He's Italian, so he's really good at picking out like wines and stuff. So he picked out these like amazing wines.
Racist.
Girl. He had this giant sopressata.
Ooh.
His friend made. And then he had all these fancy cheeses. He put together like a charcuterie for me.
Oh.
A little picnic, had a little wine. We were
That's nice.
Yeah. So we're kind of like kissing or whatever. And he stops and looks at me and he goes, "Have you ever tried heroin?"
Bro.
And my mind is like, is he about to offer me heroin? And I'm like, no. That is much more serious of drugs that I want to get into. It was like a setup. He was like, oh, I was just, because I was like, is this man going to offer me heroin? I was like, no, I haven't done it. And he's like, oh, I was just going to say that like being with you is like being on heroin or something. And I was like, thank you. I thought that was so funny.
Wow.
I was like, is man gonna like try to do heroin right now? Like
that would be a lot.
I don't know if I'm prepared for that because like I've never seen anyone do it. Like again, no judgment. I just like don't.
You don't know how to be helpful and safe.
Exactly.
If things got
right.
Got difficult.
If things got difficult and I had to call for help, I feel like in a very weird place because of my job.
You don't know the harm reduction stuff, and also you could get arrested. So
yeah, so there's like a lot going into that.
What a great compliment. Let me put that in your Valentine's Day card.
And then, okay, so we're kind of messing around, and he's older, so with age comes performance issues, which is like whatever. That's why you hire a professional. And so we're talking. I'm like, okay, like in my usual shtick, like let's like maybe do you want to like role play a little bit? Like, do you like this? Do you like that? And then he was like, I have this like mask. And I was like, do you want me to wear the mask? He's like, I mean, I don't know. Like,
it was like a fancy mask, right?
It was like a $400 like handmade Venetian mask from Italy. And I'm like, yeah. And I didn't sound like skeptical. I was like, sure, yeah, get the mask. Oh my gosh, I want to wear it. And I literally am wearing it. Does the trick, baby.
Wow.
We're in business.
Whoa.
I felt like I was in Eyes Wide Shut.
If he becomes a regular, I do think you should try to convince him to come to Thighs Wide Shut.
No, he does. Like I was mentioning wanting to see more ballets because I just went to a ballet a few weeks ago and I've never seen Swan Lake live and I love Swan Lake. And he's like, oh, just like send me anyone you want to go to. I'll get us tickets. We like genuinely had a good time. And like, honestly, like I know I'm being paid, but listen, I'm beginning to have more of a soft spot for older guys. I like it, because they love me. Because I can just be myself. They love it. I was describing the last ballet I saw to him because it was like very experimental and like weird and like I'm like we're drinking and like I was performing. Okay, I'm an entertainer. I wasn't trying. I just end up being. I get excited.
Of course.
And he's just like looking at me and he's just like, you should really have a YouTube channel where you just talk about things and educate people on things. And I was like,
whoa,
I should.
Damn.
I was like.
For real?
I should do that.
Whoa.
What a novel idea I've never thought of before.
That's so cute.
We've been hanging out a while and been drinking a little bit. And I was like, I kind of want to pep up a little bit. So I brought some treats with me. And then I spilled them all on his bed. I cannot be trusted. This is why I could never be a drug addict because
because you fucking waste all of your treats.
Anyways, I had like brought it up. I was like, oh, like, do you mind? He's like, no, I don't mind. He's like, oh, you should have told me. Like, I have some like really good stuff. He's like, oh my God. Yeah. Like one of my like old connections, like he'd get me the best. And like the connection, the dealer, whatever, would only use a $1,000 bill to snort. And I was like, that's not real. And he's like, no, they used to make those. And I looked it up. And that is like a thing that existed for like a small amount of time. I'm like, do you know how fucking rare it is probably to own a $1,000 bill and that's all you do drugs out of?
That's so cunty.
We spent a few hours together and I just had such a fun day. Like I was at one point I was like dancing. I was like showing him some ballet moves with wearing the mask.
You didn't tell me that.
I was like glass of wine in one hand. Cheese. I'm not wearing any clothes. I'm like just eating cheese, drinking, dancing. It was a real bacchanalia.
That's it. That's
okay,
the podcast.
To wrap up, okay, there's one more thing. Did I tell you this? I think I told you and our friend this. Our friend who you'll meet soon. He's walking by my car and he's like, listen, I feel like we're pretty good now. He's like, can I get your name? And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, sir, you won't even tell me your age, you dinosaur. That's mean. But I was like, well, like a lot of friends call me Barbie because most of my friends call me that. He does not need to know my legal name.
Yeah.
And he has this like weird grin on his face. And he's like, he starts to go into this like long story about how he met his first baby mama who had one of his kids. And then like their first night meeting or whatever, he asked her name. Her name is Barbara. Because I was like, oh, Barbie or Barbara is what I told him that he can call me if he doesn't want to use my other sex worker name.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and then so-and-so years later, I met another woman, hit it off, whatever, ended up having my other child. Her name, also Barbara.
I mean,
wait, that's so funny. Anyways, hey, if you find this video, please don't be offended. I really had a good time with you. I love old men with money, honestly. Hit me up, please.
God bless.
And you know what that is? It's because me being myself is their fantasy because I'm like a manic pixie energy.
Yeah.
And they just want that. And I'm not even pretending.
I'm like, slave for everyone.
I'm just being crazy and they eat that shit up.
Anyways,
rate, review, and subscribe.
Thanks.
Send your friends, please. I made these
jerseys.
I made these jerseys for the vibe.
If you see us out in these jerseys in public, you have to subscribe.
If you don't, I'm calling the police. ACAB, except for this. All right, I gotta get ready for a sex party. Ugh, my gosh. My life is so boring.
Okay. Womp womp. Bye.
Bye.
I just know about you.
Kitty keeps spreadsheets on every.
I actually really do.
It's your Virgo rising.
It is me. I know. Can't help it. I just like to know.